Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Monday's Moments live video, in which I want to talk about a trip that I took, which is why you haven't seen me on the Monday's Moments videos for the last few weeks, because I was on vacation in Scotland. And when I was on my way to Scotland, we listened to an audiobook on the way there and on the way back. So before I get into the lessons that I learned from that audiobook, I just want to give a big shout out to the audiobook, which was Michael McIntyre's, and I've got it here on my phone. Let me just get it up here. I can tell you the exact title of it. Shows I'm fully prepared for this. A Funny Life by Michael McIntyre. Now, I think with this audiobook they should give you a health warning or a driving warning, because we listened to this audiobook on the way to Scotland. It was about a 4.5 hour drive. We had some breaks there and back, and it was about the length of the audiobook. But I have never laughed so much when listening to an audiobook, and I strongly suggest that each of you go out and you either buy the hard copy or you listen to the audio version of Michael McIntyre's A Funny Life. Great book, very funny. And the reason I say a health warning is because I was laughing so much, tears were streaming down my eyes. Yeah, and I was struggling to see where I was going. So it's not what I expected. And that's what I'm going to talk about in today's Monday's Moment video. See you in a second. Now, I very often listen to and read business books, but when we go away on vacation, normally I listen to either a fictional book. One of my favourite authors is Harlan Coben, but on this occasion my wife said, can we listen to a book that I want to listen to? And that was Michael McIntyre's, and it goes through his history, really starting from his success at the London Palladium all the way through to the present day. And in this, I learned two things. Okay, the first one was the concept of a force of nature. So as this tree has bent to the force of nature, so Michael McIntyre put himself in the hands of an agent called Addison Cresswell, who unfortunately is no longer with us, and you'll read more about that in the book. But I learnt about the force of nature and how we ourselves can be a force of nature to those that we have around us. You know, what impact are we having on those that we are around us? Both positive and negative impact as well. And Michael certainly had some negative impacts as he went through the book. Now, in this quick video, I want to just share that as I was going to Scotland, but also as I was driving around the bottom of Loch Lomond, and over there's an image of the area where we stayed. I think you would pronounce it Balmaha or Balmaha, but I realised how much better I felt for the entire sort of nearly 2 weeks we were there for, because of the laughter. The way that made me feel, the way it put us at ease, the enjoyment it gave us on the journey, it was incredible. So Michael McIntyre, if you ever listen to this podcast, or if anybody ever knows of Michael McIntyre and he listens to my podcast, or he might even watch this video, then thank you. Thank you for making my trip to Scotland so much better, despite the wind and the rain and the weather and the beautiful scenery that we had was incredible. But the laughter was a big thing, and I decided during that trip that I was going to spend more time in laughter. And that's what I want you each to think about during this week ahead. When was the last time that not only did you just do a ha ha ha, but did you actually laugh out loud? That was a terrible laugh, but that's what I meant it to be. When did you laugh so much that it made your stomach hurt and your eyes stream with tears so that you couldn't see? Think about that, because that's the kind of laughter that I'm talking about. The other thing is that Michael acknowledges the force of nature who was Addison Cresswell, his agent, and how much help, how much support, and of course, he made a lot of money out of Michael, but Michael made a lot of money and has been really successful, and accredits all of his success now and in the future down to, as well as other people, mainly Addison. So what can you do to be the force of nature in somebody's life during the next week? What can you do, or what are you doing, so that you're there at every turn to give them help, to give them support, to give them advice, and to give them guidance, so that you can help them be the better version of who they can be, not only for themselves, but who will they then have an impact on? Think about me. If Addison hadn't put his faith into Michael McIntyre, I wouldn't have had the impact of laughing so much on the trip to Scotland and realising how important laughter is in our health, our well-being, and our mental health as well. So have a think about that in particular. Whose life, business can you help be a better future because of you being that force of nature? Where can you help people leave the past behind and go to the future that they're dreaming of because of you and the force of nature, the whirlwind, whatever it is, the power that you have to get them to where they want to be? So I want you today to think about those two things. Think about laughter. Spend some time this week laughing your socks off, and spend some time looking at the lives of those people around you and decide who you can be, or perhaps who you can be a better force of nature with, so that you can give them the help, the support, the advice and the guidance that they need to be the better versions. Now, of course, you can be a force of nature by being on my podcast. I would love to have you on my podcast and share your stories about your life lessons and your business lessons, so you can be a force of nature to people that you would probably never meet by being a guest on my podcast. And message me if you want to be a guest on my podcast. But look at that circle of people around you. Look at that, up here in this image. Look at those people that you can make a difference to, and try and do your best to be a better force of nature for good, and help them be better versions of themselves. I hope that's giving you some things to think about. Laughter and force of nature. And again, take a listen to or take a read of Michael McIntyre's book, A Funny Life. And laugh just as I do. I hope you find his humour amusing. I did. And again, if Michael ever listens to this, or you ever get a chance, in whatever you do, tag him in this post below wherever this is appearing at the moment. I'd love to have him as a guest on my podcast. I know I would, because I'd laugh so much. But I would just like to pass on the message that he was a force of nature during that trip to Scotland. And thank you for giving us laughter, because it's a very precious thing. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had one of these, but we're back to normal now. So I'll see you on next week's Monday's Moment Live. Bye for now.